perhaps Mr. Kesh will have something to say about how the workshop format is going with the Kesh Foundation as well. I think Farad would, I don't know if he's here right now, but he also would be able to tell us something about that, perhaps. Um, are we done the pictures?
Yes, that's what we have. Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's great. And let's see if there is any questions and any comments from Mr. Kesh, and see if there's something else that wants to be presented there.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. It's fascinating. I've been following your trip, especially when you went to the Indian tribes. And in so many ways, you're spreading the knowledge, and in a way you find and gain a lot of knowledge yourself. We've seen this process has started because people see no other solution but to teach. The more we teach, the more taboo goes away from what it could be, what it is. The interesting point is the way you approached it, the way you humbly go and read, and they reach the others. There is a problem with running workshops, and that is to get carried away with it. And it seems that you have managed to keep a balance. And in any shape or form you do, anything will follow you. I am constantly aware of every move you make, because I get your reports or your communication from Caroline under my nose. Look where they are, see what they've done. They've been to the Indian tribes and they've spreaded it. And so everything you do, I have a full knowledge of in a way. I don't miss any of your communications. Caroline makes sure of that. In so many ways, our soul is with you. You're spreading the knowledge for peace. And it takes time. We have reached a point in the next few weeks, a lot of people will see it, that as I always said, and a lot of people have problem with it, our technology will come out through its peaceful application, and we see it. I've been privileged in past 24 hours to meet some of the most highly educated nuclear physicists, a large number of them, and it was a pleasure to see how easily nuclear physicists understand the plasma. Their understanding that what I said, and its approach, if you're a nuclear physicist, you understand it very easily. If you're at the school of thought of plasma physics, unless there is something wrong with the patent you've written. And I explained to them very simply, we fought with matter for centuries and thousands of years. We couldn't manipulate it anymore. The maximum we got, we made alloys, and the maximum we got out of them was tangibility of something to hold on to or being able to see. In chemistry, we mix things together, and that's as far as we got. When we brought in the atom some less than 100 years ago, it was something new. We had to accept it, and so it was a novel thing. And people, because of Hiroshima bomb, they got respect for it. The respect came out of fear, but not from the knowledge. Then we moved into nuclear. We went deeper into the science of the plasma, of the creation. And this brought us an insight. But in fact, one of the biggest problems with the nuclear industry is we are misrepresented. As nuclear physicists, we are heavily misrepresented. In a way, again, the power of devastation has brought fear and respect. And this should not be. And I explained to these nuclear physicists very simply that the plasma is different. The plasma is peaceful. The plasma shows its power, but with no fear. And us as nuclear physicists have got to change the position that we are not respected out of the fear of what we bring. But now we should be respected out of the pleasure we bring with plasma. And what you've shown clearly shows that. When you walk into a shop and they're using plasma and they already know about it because of Dr. Rodriguez and the others in the environment, in the area, it shows it has resonated with people. People have understood this application. People understand its energy, and this is what we're looking for. This is where it comes, the pleasure of it, that the other side of it doesn't become acceptable. It's a knife which cuts both sides. If you use it the wrong way, you can harm yourself. But if you use it the right way, you can give pleasure to others in elevation of the knowledge. And what I've seen, what you've been doing in past few weeks, as I see it every day and every morning and night with Caroline, they are there, they've done this, they gave it to the Indians, they've done this, they're working shop. And always bless your souls. And I said, I hope we could give you more. The position with the workshop is, we see some people are abusing workshops as a way to gain money and earn money. And this cannot be done. We've seen a number of people have got on the bandwagon like before with other technologies and just looking at workshops as a way to make a living and money, and doesn't matter whatever. This cannot happen. You will lose your rights very soon. You will understand how. We do not implement, but understand, when you run these workshops, the way we see with these gorgeous ladies, is do it with sincerity to pass the knowledge. And then you'll find out, as they said, the way of living will come with it. But we've seen abuse already with a couple of people, that they just ransack, they're just there to make you feel coils and teach. And we warn, and then we go out with the names that this cannot be done. Use the technology to pass the knowledge. Don't look at the technology that you have something on top of it. Teach that they can do and they see the benefit. Don't teach that they see this is another, what they call it, misrepresentation of the science by one person, because they see the rest of the knowledge, they go and they add it up themselves. Teaching has to be thorough, teaching has to be in depth, that they understand with it. I asked the people who are going to be present in Ghana to put out leaflets, World Peace Treaty, that to be signed by anyone who attends it. And I hope it'll be there and it'll be done. The same thing with all of the courses you do, all the teachings you do. Primarily, when you start teaching, let them sign themselves into peace. And you'll find out you have already the souls which are there in agreement. Don't just go in and just do a workshop. Not for them to see something new that they'll be interested and excited, understand the commitment with using the technology. The reason a lot of people find peace with this is because in most of the production of CO2s, you create some zinc. And in the production of the zinc, you find relevance with the emotion of the man. So you literally support the, what I call the emotion. And with that support, they feel better and they become, physicality becomes irrelevant. That's why you see a lot of joy in these classes, a lot of joy in the workshops. Because you are physically handling a material which is physically touches your emotion. If you have made a nano-coated copper coil and you put a GaNs on it, 99.99% you have added zinc oxide to it, which is the strength of the emotion of the man. This is why it's not just that everything looks peaceful and everybody is happy. It's because in that process, you instantaneously feed the emotion. You satisfy most of the emotion. And this is important. As part of the teaching, if you understand, you can add a new dimension to the teaching. We've been through this before. I would like to add this because I added this to the knowledge again yesterday in the private teachings to the doctors. and maybe a lot of you will see a breakthrough into this. Can I share the screen, please?
Go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
What you see, you got to understand, is that the emotion of the man goes through the blood of the man. The man's blood is the carrier of this emotion to different cells. Our blood is not there just to feed your brain with the energy which it needs for operation of the understanding of the environment, or of what you call the strength of the other entities or beings or environment in respect to understanding of your physicality, what we call emotion. Every cell of the body of the man has a link with its emotion. That's why if you touch a nail, you feel it. If somebody touches you with a nail, you feel it. You allow somebody with a pin to take a whatever splinter out of your skin, and you have no problem. But you react to if somebody else with a pin comes when you don't have a splinter. So the body of the man in the touch has emotion, acceptance of the emotion of the physicality. It's the same pin, but in two different ways. So our cells, every cell of the man has and carries emotion, and it's fed through the blood cells. It's fed through our blood circulation. So now that a lot of you understood that the zinc was connected with your emotion, and you try to feed the emotion through the use of zinc oxide GANs. But there is a key to it. There is a point to it. You are releasing this zinc oxide in the hope, and in majority of the time, to be absorbed by the body. But up to now, none of you have linked it to your blood, to the circulation of the blood, which brings it directly, which brings it in line to be matched. It's very much like what we talk about processing a cancer. We put a patch on the point of cancer to elevate the strength at the point we want most of the energy to be going to. So if you're dealing with the zinc up to now, and you've been using the zinc oxide to be used, it comes to the next step. This is an evolution, as I said, in the teaching of the plasma as we enter the space technology, medicine and health. You release the energy of the zinc, which is at the strength of the emotion of the man, and partially you hope it'll be accepted, it'll be there to be delivered by the emotion of the what I call the brain of the man. But you can make it more precise. You can target the blood, which brings and delivers directly the emotion balance into the brain of the man, into the every cell of the man, using the circulation of the blood itself. Don't forget, doves with doves is the policy and the way we work with plasma. You have to find the matching that you can load the matching. So it becomes essential now to go into the next step of the development of the understanding of the circulation of the emotion within the cell of the body of the man, as much as the brain of the man, the controlling system. Go back to the teaching, even as back as 2 years ago, where we taught in the Sasano. You make a CO2 box. In your CO2 box, you produce CO2 GANs in a very easy way by using two different plates, one zinc and one nano-coated copper. When you produce any, literally any oxide GANs, you always have noticed certain amount of what I call amino acid on the top. I highlight this one in green that you can see. The amino acid sits in patches on top of the water. Go to the understanding of the science of the creation. Amino acid is connection to the atmosphere of this planet in respect to the what we call the physical part, which is the solid part. You bring the gaseous part on top of the what we call the liquid in conjunction with the environment which you have created with salt and water here. What you've seen up to now, what you have created, has been enormous amount of what you call CO2 GANs at the bottom. Maybe I better change this because I know then you understand why. I change the color. I change it to this color. You have the CO2. I am short on colors. Okay, let's do it this way. You have the CO2 at the bottom, GANs. You have created the amino acid on the top. You have created the environment of the ocean with the salt water. You have brought the gaseous part in touch with the liquid part, but now you need to give it the essence of life. We know when you have the amino acid, if you add it with iron, you create hemoglobin, which is the blood of the man. It's a backbone of the creation circulation, where the difference between one and the other is so huge that leads to creation of circulation of magnetic field. Because now iron has to feed all to bring them all to balance. Don't forget, this is totality is 43. Now, it should be very easy, if you understood this, to get yourself a piece of iron, nano-coated, or better, a rusted iron piece, which sits and connects itself to the CO2. The gaseous will change itself into the matter state. And what's going to happen? As the nano-coated iron in energy touches the salt, comes in touch with protein, the amino acid, in the presence of the flow of a current in this structure, in the plasmatic condition, what you will see is creation of hemoglobin. It will drip down what you call blood. And now you have created more or less a pure amino acid connected to iron, or what you call hemoglobin. It fits any blood type, more or less, because it's pure. It's still in the virgin state. It has not orientated to the need of the structure of evolution of the land. Don't forget, this was copper and this was zinc. This amino acid here has emotion capability of the physicality, which is the muscle tissues, because you dictated the copper. If in another set you put zinc nano-coated and a zinc non-nano-coated, as you've seen through your experiments, you collected again GANs of zinc oxide, but the same way you've been producing amino acid, you've seen the fat. Now, if you put again the iron here and drop it down all the way to the GANs level, you still will produce hemoglobin. This time at the strength of the emotion. Now, if you can extract this, you can produce half a liter of hemoglobin in a good system a day. You run it, it becomes absolutely red, sits right at the bottom. Go through the process, extract it, wash it thoroughly. Do the same with this. Get a mixture of the two. 50-50 usually is good. And now you have a hemoglobin which carries the emotion of the physicality, plus a hemoglobin which carries the totality of the emotion of the man. This is a new tool in the arsenal of the science of plasma. Now you can interact with any emotion directly. Add this to the whole structure. Add this. I'm trying to save. Can you take a picture frame of this and put it on later on that I need it, please? So now you have a new tool, a new way, a new understanding of how to play direct. None of you have ever gone into this evolution. If you're dealing with disease of the man, you have to understand the emotion of the disease too. And you cannot do it without hemoglobin. You'll find this is a fast track into the job of bringing the change in the structure. What you need desktop. So what you need with this is to understand how to utilize it. How to be able to be to be able to change a lot of things in the whole structure. So what you need is to add the zinc oxide of what I call hemoglobin with zinc oxide of hemoglobin, just to do with the emotion, and take this mixture and add to your CO2. You can add this to the zinc oxide. You can add this to CH3. Then you connect it directly with what I call horizontal people. If you use in the same process magnesium instead of zinc, the amino acid with what is produced at the bottom will create the vertical people emotional line to the physicality. You can do the same magnesium and zinc. You can do in different dimensions, different application of it. That this amino acid with chlorophene, which is produced at the bottom, is as a strength that can touch the emotion of the man. Game changes with plasma technology. Game changes because now you can directly interact and use it. And in the teaching with the doctors, I explained I wanted to teach this sometimes in the future, but the development is so fast that we need to interact. When you put this mixture of 1 and 2 in a package that can come into interaction, in touch, or in the vicinity of what I call the artery, you will find you transfer the energy directly into the blood of the man. The blood of, and in turn it will change the soul of the man. Place another at the ratio of 3. You can use it as an injection. You don't need needles to deliver energy into the blood circulation. This is part of injection of energy. And if it needs it, it'll take it, accepts it, and elevates it. You reach every cell within a matter of minutes by the circulation of the blood. You choose the vein. Is it on the feedback or is it on the way out to feed? You dictate the condition of the state of the emotion of the man. Now, the game of peace played because the zinc in hemoglobin being in balance will bring a balance to the body of the man as all the cells go back to the neutral state, what they needed by receiving energy without killing, that stops the man to kill, to hunt. Because it receives what it needs through magnetic field, gravitational field of a natural product which does not kill another thing, but it takes what is available to it, and because it's at the same strength of itself, it balances very quickly. Add to this mixture fair amount of CH3 GaNs. You feed the man with all the energy he needs, irrespective of vitamin A, irrespective of potassium, irrespective of calcium or anything. But you have to understand the mastery of the game to be able to do it. I touched on this a couple of years ago. Go back to the teaching, the medical teaching, which has been recorded with when we went to different operation of the physicality of the man, and you'll find them in there. So now, if you understand this, if you apply it the correct way, if you take the protein of the hemoglobin of the man from the essence of his creation, which you feed the physicality of the amino acid through the matter state of the emotion, which use the zinc pure protein, now you'll understand. Game changes totally. Diseases become irrelevant because they have to find a balance. If you handle it the right way, it becomes irrelevant. And this is the only way that in a coming time, bacterias, microbes can be handled. You've seen with the tests with different organizations, from the plasma of the GaNs, we managed to handle the viruses. But now, there was a big problem. What are we doing with microbes, with bacteria, which are amino acid based? This is the key to it. This is one of the ways, for example, you handle malaria. Malaria is a living thing, it's a parasite. It's not a virus. You will not find much effective process through pure CO2. Some cases you do. But now that you added the energy of the amino acid, you'll find out it's the first time you have a tool to be able to change the characteristics that your system can handle any viruses and any bacteria or any microbes. This is a natural antibiotic. But you have to understand how to apply it. You have to understand now you deal with the body of the man and you can pinpoint it to the point of infection. Because now you directly deal with amino acid, with a cell. This is very important. For those of you who understand what has been taught now, you will understand that the game has changed. The game of healthcare has changed. we don't need injections to interfere with the blood of the man to get rid of the abnormalities. We dictate the normality, that the abnormality within the cell gives its energy away to the system, and by accepting it, don't destroy life, but it's the environment that the bacteria and microbes cannot exist. This is the way, in a coming time, doctors will apply the administration of the appropriate energy to the appropriate amino acids, or what we call blood circulation. This is a game changer in every aspect, in respect to emotion, healthcare, and feed of the man. Now, you directly connect this to the lymph of the man, where the food of the man is given. You can create patches that by just putting the patch with this link on the body continuously feeds itself as it needs it, as you place it on the stomach. Because now the feeding patch takes over the work of the stomach, because it feeds the lymph. That's what your stomach does. Now, with placing the amino acid with the, what I call the hemoglobin of the zinc or physicality, you change the totality of what you want to do. This is part of the teaching, now that we mature in understanding of the plasma, need to come into. Those of you who were looking for elevation of the soul of the man know exactly what you have to do if you understood the totality of the knowledge. If you understood the process of the interaction, and then you understood the process of the elevation of the emotion to become part of how you can do it through this process. But it needs the right intention, because you will find out you'll be playing with fire, and that fire only burns you and nobody else, because it's the intention which counts. You've been pouring water in rivers. Now you can add to the emotion of the water of the blood of the man. And then you find out you achieve much faster any kind of process which you are aiming at. Add this hemoglobin with all the processes which you put in. Do not forget, because now it's part of the structure of the emotion, has access to your emotion, to your intention, and only can accept what it needs. You can change the man to a peaceful man. Leave it in the squares, leave it in the parks, leave it in the offices, and you'll find out people will start behaving different. Add it to the cores, you'll find out the behavior will change. Add it to the coils, you'll find out you become the controller of the feed. This is how you control systems, through your emotion. This is the fastest way, because now you establish the physical connection through the hemoglobin and your emotion to your system. The deep space technology has no room for wires and computers, except the natural process of the GANs computers, which your brain is part of it and your body is part of it. And according to what you can process from the energy, dictates the maturity and understanding more of the creation. You cannot use this to elevate your soul, but you can use this to strengthen your soul. It's two different things. But you have to understand, by being able to produce hemoglobin, which is connected to the physicality and the emotion, by mixture of the two type of hemoglobin, you can add other hemoglobins, even like a CH3, which is in fact already connected to the hemoglobin itself, because you use iron oxide, zinc oxide layers. These structures are very, very easy to produce and can be devastatingly effective in changing the animalness of the man to the man, a peaceful man. Production of hemoglobin at its purest form, connected to the zinc, because it already is in the GANs state, only produces hemoglobins which are at the state, the strength of the physicality of the man, and no others. Even though there are other zincs and GANs zincs fields are available in the same container. Which means the connection to humanity and the blood of the man or the animals, once you make the GANs water of these hemoglobins, is very direct. It's amazingly direct. And will be so effective that those who start using it appropriately will change every person they touch. You said in part of the what you have achieved in past few weeks, people leave it in the shops, people leave it in the other places. Now add the hemoglobin of the zinc with the zinc GANs itself, with copper oxide itself, and the hemoglobin of the zinc and the copper, and add a CH3 to it, and then the mayhem starts. Hunger to teach peace, it becomes addiction. Searching and achieving peace becomes so reachable that it becomes more or less part of the life. Because you won't stand the other people's behavior, the understanding, and then you understand exactly what it comes. In so many ways, if you understand, this is what the Christ said. This is my blood. Blood of peace. And it's you, which you take it with your physicality, completes more or less the cycle. What you drink, what you have, what you use it for to breathe, will touch directly every being. On the other hand, if you understand how to use this and how to more or less clean it up to totality of its essence, you can use these hemoglobins by the medical groups and scientific groups as blood replacement. And they once enter the body of the man as a blood, will take the shape and the strength of the others, which means they convert themselves to what you call blood type A, B, or whatever. Because in the organization, they become part of the structure which they have joined. Would we make one blood type of the humanity? The answer is yes. Would that blood type will be a peaceful type? The answer is yes. Can we do this to change the habit of the animalness of the other animals? The answer is yes. Can we put these in rotating Gans balls that it can reach the soul of humanity and the whole planet? The answer is yes. Can we mix the protein of the verticals and the horizontals, that one feeds the other and it brings stability to both the planets and the plants and living creatures? The answer is yes. Would we eat? Do not think so. Because when you create such a balance in the human body, the body will take from environment what it needs and will not touch the physicality. Is this a shortcut to hunger? Is the fast cut to depriving man from eating? Try it and you'll see. I'm sure a lot of you will come back with a lot of stories. Those of you who don't achieve, understand, now you work on the line of the soul. You might say, I want to be peaceful, I am this and that, but it doesn't work on me, or it doesn't work. The answer is, look at your soul, and what is the soul knows of your intention. This is a game changer, and this brings you to the level that if you understand, you do the same thing in the space of the environment you go into, and if you understood the process, you do not need to eat another entity, because the satisfaction of the energy from the environmental fields will satisfy the hunger or a need for evolution. You'll find out the hunger will not exist, because the field itself will receive what we call it. You will see, those of you who endeavor to go further and, for example, do what you call the aura of the man, you will see the aura becomes very balanced. These different colors will disappear. It becomes unified, which means it gives imbalance slowly what it doesn't need, and it receives what it needs. Production of hemoglobin in conjunction with protein itself is need understanding, even though hemoglobin has itself been created out of protein. Now that you add water, the salt, gravitational magnetic field, you added the iron into the structure of the magnetic field of the plasma of the protein, you still need a combination of the protein and the hemoglobin. Don't forget, you have the flesh and you have the blood. Just because you manage to create a flesh, you cannot ignore the physical part, which is the amino acid, or what you call the physical part. This is one of the keys to the process of creating the right strength material for repair of organs in the body of the man. You bring the emotion strength. Kidney has a specific physical structure, strength, and it has given emotional strength. You bring the two together. So in reproduction of organs, you have to understand the two, but the strength of the emotion in the, what you call the hemoglobin, which fits into that, the strength in the presence of the amino acid, the strength of the physicality of the kidney, which will produce the cell where you want. So you do not need to reproduce or do a transplant. You understand, you bring the balance, the organ itself, because the availability of both the cell and the emotional strength of the cell will produce itself. You can do the same thing with bone marrow, you can do the same thing with bone, you can do the same thing with liver, lung, and everything else. This is the key to the space technology, without carrying or asking one of the other passengers, the captain is sick, can we have your heart, because otherwise he dies. Because now you change, you develop, you repair, you replace every cell in every corner. What's the knowledge of man accumulated to understand the strength of each cell in the body of the man? You don't need to do open heart surgeries to place a blood vessel from one part of the body to another part. You do the opening, cleaning, and repairing of the blood vessels of the heart directly using, understanding this technology, this method. That how, what is the emotion of the heart on this, what you call plasmatic gravitational magnetic field of its hemoglobin, what is the strength of the cell in which part of the body of the man, and which section, which cell, if it's the valve, if it's the vein, and you handle it that way. You can do repair every organ, and this will take you a few minutes. We're not talking about months and years. If you understood the replacement of the tail of a reptile when it cuts and it grows back, and you understood the process of the nanotechnology and the GANs, and now with the hemoglobin and with the presence of the amino acid of the calcium and its blood level strength hemoglobin, you can grow your finger within minutes. Exactly what the reptiles do. I was explaining this to a couple of scientists yesterday. I explained to you again for those of you who have tried, and it's how does it work? If you make a nano-coated material and coat it with the hemoglobin and the amino acid of the components of the muscle, the blood, and the calcium, if there is a bone in that section, you will be able to create the condition field available for the bone and the muscle tissues with the information which comes from the brain to replace it very fast. If this is strange to you, I'll tell you something. It's happened to all of you, but you never thought about it. You cut your finger, a piece of tissue disappears by cutting it. When it heals, you don't have a dent. You have, within few days, the identical tissues reproduced. How? And you say, I had a cut there, I lost a piece of my finger there, but now it's back in the same shape. If the brain of the man could replace, only needs the energies of the right strength over 3 days, 5 days, or 10 days to replace the cut piece. Now that you understand the addition knowledge which is given today, you can speed it up within minutes. Now you understand how no man should be walking because of a mine on the land. Legless, armless, with amputation. There shall be no man with no legs once we finish with this technology. The only people who will not exist in a short time is the people who have no heart. And you will understand very soon how and why. So, if you understood the process of replacement, if you understood by creating the condition that everything is available, you understand the man now has the knowledge to do what has been his dream. To regrow parts of the body. Exactly as I said, with the tail of reptiles. What does a reptile do? When you cut, when it loses, or its tail gets chopped off, due to the structure of its brain and the symmetry of the shape, go back to the Chinese cooking. Go back to what we taught you about wok. Go back to when I said to you that man has been a nano maker all his life, but he never knew. What does the Chinaman do? The Chinaman, what he does, he puts a steel pan on a fire, heats it up. And he heats up so high that it creates a nano coating. You do it with a fire coating on your coils. You do the same thing as the Chinaman. So does the reptile. At the point where the tail is cut, due to the high energy, it releases such a heat that immediately it seals its last layer to a nanomaterial. It receives the energy. Now, the tail to the brain, information comes, and that information carries the information of the replacement. So, the brain never sees that the energy is lost. The phantom pain is the cause of the stop of the growth of a cell, of a tail. But because the animal has created nanomaterial at a high temperature at a point of cut, it absorbs all the energy. So the brain does not see the loss of the tail because the information is absorbed by the wall, by the high temperature cells which he has produced. Now, in that process of high temperature production, don't forget you made the nanomaterial of the copper and the gas of the copper itself. The nano coating the animal has created is of the elements of its own creation. It's skin, it's blood, it's muscle, it's bone. It hasn't come from outside. It's not a copper plate, but it's a nano GaN state, its own. Now it's your hemoglobin in it too. It carries the emotion of it too. So as the brain does not see it, that is lost, is nano coated, it absorbs. But the nano coating itself creates the environment, gravitational magnetic field of the hemoglobin and the amino acid which created itself. The body grows. As the information comes, it replaces it very rapidly, because if the energy absorbed rapid, it means it has to come more. It's done, I need the next one. you get the growth of the tail. The tip of the tail does not grow that you see the animal, a gap and a tail in the back, a little piece following it. It comes from point of the gut growing out. This is how I grew the toe. Those of you who tried to use a nanoplate and you couldn't see anything because you haven't put the other half of the ingredient. And at that time we could not teach because you were not ready to understand it. Now in the space technology, in the space you lose a leg, very easy. You have the tools, everything is available. We cannot create the high temperature to create the nanomaterial. That's why whenever we get a cut, we have a problem with the skin production. We have a cut, we have a problem with curvature and the point of production. Because the nano coating, the nanomaterial, the GANs of the amino acid of the bone is missing. So you add it there, it's available. You produce in no time. You have a burn, first degree, second degree, third degree, whatever. If you understood the process, within hours, there'll be no burn. And because you have created the exact process as the body of the man, there'll be no scars. Nobody will ever see you having a burn, a scar. You do the same thing with the cut. Nobody can say, oh, you lost your leg because there's a mark here. Because it's done by the body, it becomes homogeneous. In space, you will never lose anything because you know, lost, I can repair it. Man had this knowledge. In the brain of the man, the knowledge of replacement exists because that's how we reproduce. But the replacement in mass, because of the huge amount of energy we use to create that nanomaterial, has gone. So we stack it up. But with this process, you can help it rapidly. You can adjust it, that it fixed. So anything above, which is bacteria or infection, you call it, will not be able to survive because it has dictated the border. Anything above, the energy is absorbed. You've seen the work with the virus, how effectively this works with viruses. Now, if you understand it, it'll take you time to be able to make systems. But as I always said, once we teach, it'll be followed and then it'll be implemented. And the doctors will use it very rapidly. People who lose their legs, people who go in the first or second or third degree burn, people who are in a horrendous accident, you'll find out, you take them to a doctor immediately, they have the facilities, the legs and the arm will be built. Because now we know the secrets of creation and replacement. All the information is in the brain of the man, is in your DNA. If you manage to replace a cut skin or a burned skin, it means the information is always there. It's you who got to know how to tap into it. Now we know how to tap into it, because what is missing is the strength of the emotion, which you create through the blood or hemoglobin of the zinc and hemoglobin of the copper, which gives the physicality and emotion. And then you need some energy to do the job, which is you can use the hemoglobin of CH3. Because you have a carbon connection into it, then it links up with the line of the neural system of the man, exchange of the energy, and directly the repair will take place. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
John, you can reconstruct a lost eye also this way, can you?
It needs an eye to see how to do it. eye is a complicated system, but you still can do. Don't forget, the structure of the eye is a very strange structure. Very, very strange structure. It's spherical, it's two next to each other, which means they balance each other out. That's why you have two eyes, which means the field balance with the two main centers of the physicality of the brain in respect to the side are connected. Is 4 of them. And it means when you want to replace an eye or change an eye, it means the emotion has to be counted fully, because eye is assigned to the emotion of the man. What man uses for physicality to see. So, do you want to see the harshness of the planet or whatever? And if you don't, you'll find out it will not work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Keshe, there's a question in the chat from James. It goes, if the place of the soul of the man is in a cavity in the brain center, where is the seat of the soul of the creator in the human physicality? Could you discuss the role of the heart?
Can you explain, please?
I'd have to get James perhaps to I can promote him to a panelist. Maybe he can further elaborate on his question. James, do you want to go? Do you want to say something there? I'll try to unmute you and see if that works. Hello? James, are you able to speak? Apparently not. I'm not getting the microphone coming through on his system there. So perhaps I can just rephrase the question or restate it. He's saying, if the place of the soul of the man is in a cavity in the brain center, where is the seat of the soul of the creator in the human physicality?
Ha ha ha. Doesn't mean it's in there, but it means you have a connection. Remember the connection between the two plasma poles? You create one half of the other and you get the feed from it. And you can take as much as you can physically absorb and no more. The soul of the creator is not within the body of the man, but is connected through the fields to the soul of the man. You are the smaller part and you receive from the bigger. That's why we always receive what we call the messages or the elevation or understanding of what we should be, because we receive that from the creator. But according to our structure, we'll receive according to what we understand and what emotionally we are capable of.
And how would you describe, or could you discuss the role of the heart in that? I know you've mentioned the heart before in some of the teachings. Maybe you could briefly describe how the heart interacts with this.
The heart is provider of the energy of the physicality in respect to the emotional part of it, that it feeds the emotion of the brain of the man, which then affects the soul of the man. The heartbeat, that's all it does. Look, I was explaining this in the teachings yesterday, I think. Look at the position of the heart, the angle of the heart, where it's positioned in respect to what I call the soul of the man, and how the man receives the information and the energy from the energies which are absorbed inside the heart. You look at the heart as a tool of a pump, but you look at the heart, go back to the teaching we done about the position and chambers of the heart, you bring the mixture of the emotional pump side, the limb side of the physicality, the physicality of and the emotion of the cells of the physical part. Whatever is surplus or whatever is over the balance from one to another is pumped through upwards, North Pole to South Pole, which is the emotion of the man. That's why you get a heart attack when we call it a heart attack, or you get a brain hemorrhage, because the energy which is felt through the physicality, not acceptable to emotion part, is gathered, fed back, and it goes up into the brain or the emotion part, and it's so much that it cannot process. It releases that emotion, and that emotion strength is so high that it dissolves the other cells which are the physical part of the brain, and then we see disabilities, or what we call the disabilities of a heart attack. The pump is the collector of physical information and the emotional part of the physical part of the body of the man, and it has to be in balance, and continuously it's pumping, feeds the energy to the soul of the man. You look at everything in a physical way, but the heart is the feeder of your emotion, in balance with all cells of your physical part to the emotional part of your brain. As long as what you feed is in balance, you have no. You find imbalances which is not in line with your emotion, you'll get a heart attack. Where do you think the heart attack comes from? Just understand the process. You cannot digest the physicality of the emotion. Energy is too high, releases. It's a volcanic eruption. It is very much. You have the heart, you have the soul of the man and the emotion of the man in the brain. When the mixture is not right, there's surplus energy, it does. If you look at it, this is the job of your lung and your heart, a feedback system. Why do you get a heart attack if you get frightened or something happens physically? The information comes in so much that it's overloads compared to what the physicality emotion brings in, and what the what they call the emotion of the brain can accept. The surplus goes up, releases huge amount. The brain has to release it because it's in plasmatic condition. You overload. What you don't overload, you actually dilute. You dissolve the other cells into it. This is what we do in the space technology. In the space technology, we create a shield, and in deep space, you're going through a shower of meteorites. You create a field which is stronger than the meteorite you're encountering. So the energy don't blow every single piece of dust away. You create such an energy that becomes part of it. It adds to it. This is what you do with the cancer cells when you remove the cancer cells. You take the highest order of the field and it dissolves and it opens. But because here immediately hits the physicality of the brain, voila, it dissolves the cells, and as I've said in the teaching before, if you look, this is your brain, and the emotion comes, the energy opens up. We see damages to the upper arm, we see damages to the lower arm. If the field energy is so huge that it cannot release in that tunnel, it releases right across. Twist and angle in the fingers, the hand, upper hand, and don't forget both the, what I call the arm and the leg are both following the same process. So upper leg, upper arm, upper hand, or lower arm, lower leg, and everything else, you see the twist and the limp on the same side of the body of the man. I explained this in the teachings in past couple of days. If you look at the position of heart of the man in the MRI and look at the shape of the position on some beats, how it twists and it goes back, how it moves, and you draw a line directly from top to bottom, you can tell how and who will have a heart attack at what level. All of us can have a heart attack, which means your brain hemorrhage you can have as well through without a heart attack, but at different strength. Looking at the position of the heart, the shape of the heart, the angle of the release of the energy to the main brain will tell you how vulnerable you are. If you stand far away from it to the right, there is much more possible of attack through emotion. If you go to the left, it's much possible attack through the physicality. Because you look at where the energy comes in from the lung and where the energy goes out of the lung. The energy coming into the lung is always constant, it's from the environment. The energy which comes from the physicality, which varies according to what is absorbed, what is coming in on the emotional and physical side, and on the emotional of the physical side. So you will see who is more vulnerable to a heart attack under what condition, more physical or more emotional. Body of a man, it just doesn't happen that you have 2 eyes and 2 legs and a heart somewhere and a liver. Everything is positioned so precise to give certain effects. Eyes, the color of the eyes, the shape of the face, the shape of the nose. It's no use having a very big face and very tiny fingers. If you have a very big face, very big structure, you need long fingers too, otherwise you'll be abnormal, and the body never stays abnormal. And then you will see every organ, every shape. If doctors stand still and take a scan of a child when he's born, you can tell the whole history of what kind of adult he make by looking at it. I've done this many times. And then you follow it, you see if you were correct. Or when you see the MRI, you understand without the patient knowing what kind of character sits in front of you, without them knowing you know the real side. Everything is positioned in a way to fit certain energy, and that certain energy creates certain characteristics. There is a very nice research done. There is research done some years ago. I used to have the paper. It says 85% of the men who are shorter, and then it goes to the height, by height, how much shorter. The man stands just to the forehead, stands to the eye level, stands to the nose level, stands to the mouth, and stands to the heart. It shows the degree of their adultery to their partner. And 85%, according to the survey, the research, the men who are shorter than their partner are unfaithful to them, because they stand below and they want to be higher, and they want to satisfy that emotion that they exist too, and the existence comes to give somewhere to take some. So every height, every relationship in the emotion, everything in the physicality of the man has consequences in behavior, in emotion, and in the soul. You look at the position of the eye, you know what you have in your hand. You look, the eyes, people who have two eyes with a slight movement one to the other, and born that way, you will find very difficult people to handle, because they see two versions of everything and one doesn't trust the other, because the eye sees out of focus, so it has to create another condition that continuously is aware of that out of focusness. So you're on two characters. Look at the ones with two different color of eyes. Absorbs different, so brain works on two levels. Now, put the shape of the ears, put the shape of the cheeks, put the shape of the mouth, put the shape of the heart, and then you understand the whole structure. Then you understand who you're dealing by looking at the man. And then if they give you the MRI, God help you, you see the full truth. And then if they give you this, if you can see through the whole structure, what it creates through what they call the soul of the man, then you don't need the physicality. You are getting there very, very fast. You get educated very, very fast. Any other question?
Okay, Paul, I think, had a question. Are you there, Paul? I'll try to unmute him. Can.
Is that Paul from Togo?
Yeah, he's wanted to be on as panelist, so you're unmuted, Paul. Go ahead. Hello?
Yeah, hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello.
Hello, yes, we are listening, Paul.
Okay, my question was that with this new system, with this new knowledge, it is possible to create infinity loop between physicality of man and the soul of man to keep man in the balance?
Yes, but don't forget the soul is very powerful compared to the physicality. You
So
have to find the right balance.
So if we have managed to create this infinity loop between physicality and the soul of man, in this case, man will not need to eat or to be in sickness. This was my intention.
More or less, because you satisfy the need
Okay.
for absorption. Paul, are you going to present your paper by Zoom in the conference in Accra this next week?
Yes, Mr. Keshe.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
I said, are you presenting your paper in the conference in Accra next week?
Yes, I will present.
Regarding malaria.
Yeah, I will do this.
What happened with the wife? I've seen part of your report about the husband. I asked you for some clarification. Can you explain to us now? You're online.
Yeah, she make what you call a control. And she make the total control and they make analysis for all the body. and we get the report from medical reports, like you advise us. So we let the doctor who follow her and go to another doctor, another laboratory, and we get all the reports. So I am translating now the report. I have sent you, but it is in French. Only 2 points.
I've seen the report about the husband. Can you explain to us what happened to the husband and the wife?
Yeah, for the husband, the head has gone. The test is negative. But we are now looking for the wife. She's a reporter. She's totally reports.
When is it due? Have you received it?
Please?
Have you received the report on her?
Yeah, I receive, I can say 90% of the report. It remaining 2 reports.
And what does it look like?
Yeah, for the report that we have received, when we compare to the report that she have done before we start the treatment, she have put away more of 12 illness in her, only remaining 3 on the report paper.
What's the 3? Is it HIV is still there?
Yeah, I have to translate it because they make abbreviation. So we start to translate it in the normal way to send you and see how to do.
But what's the level of the change in HIV?
The level is very, very good because before we started the treatment, every week she should go at the hospital, take more injection, take the products. When we start, a part of these 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, still today she never feel illness. She never gone to hospital. So physically and what I can say, all things is okay for her. And before Mr. Kesh, what is beautiful is they said to me before they are putting like $200 in the hospital every month for her. No, when we started, I say before we started the treatment,
yeah,
they were spending like more or $200 per month for his health, for his for his treatment at the hospital. So when we started the treatment until today, they never spent this money for going hospital. So that is very good for all the family, and the whole family is dancing every day. They are very, very happy. His children, doctors, she also, she's urban, all is in happy.
Yeah, but what we are looking is what is the response with HIV? That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, this is the report I am looking for. So this week we have to get it. The problem is for the patients of AIDS, they government make them registration in one logiciel. So when they go to another doctor, they will send them back to their own doctors. So we get 90% of the report. Now it remaining 2 reports, 2 medical reports, one for the final test for AIDS for her, and another one. So
would you receive that before Tuesday, where you're going to submit the paper, or Monday?
Okay, I will do my best.
Yeah.
When I finish,
as we say in Africa, do your level best.
Thank you.
and we'll see, because I think if you could let Benjamin know, he can organize it, that you will show your paper in the first day in the conference. As you know, it's all African presentation conference, and it'll be a major point for what you call for presentation in Africa. Thousands of people losing their lives to HIV every year here, and it's very important, because when you submit the medical reports and doctor reports, it gives it a lot of strength and credibility.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Kesh, I have no more than 25 patients for AIDS around the world by internet, and in Togo here more than 6. When we make application of plasma liquid of GANs, we are getting the same results.
What do you mean?
What happened with this husband and his wife? We are getting the same for all the patients that we are advising to use plasma liquid. And the thing is very interesting. They have produced the GANs themselves, and I just showed them how to manage, how to use it, and every time the report they are bringing to us is the same.
Can you make a report? Can you make a statistics report of this for Monday?
Okay,
Take
I will make
out and show this done in different countries.
Yeah, I will make it. I have sent some yesterday to you.
Pardon?
I have sent yesterday some reports from some country like Europe.
Make this into a part of the end of presentation that where it's used. Take the names out, and we'll try to give you a chance, what do you call it, to accumulate all these as a test results. Do you want to remind again those who want or would like to try, if they are affected by HIV or they know somebody, what do you do?
Yeah, I can do this, Mr. Kesh.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So for the AIDS patients, what we have done is we take plasma liquid of CO2 and we mix it in the water of drink of our patients, in the water of house using, and we put it for also the water for bathing and washing the house, washing cooking material, and all the things with CO2 plasma liquids. The reason that we have done it is to create.
Repeat again, please. Make it clear.
Okay, so we make plasma liquid of CO2.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And this plasma liquid of CO2, the patients use it for drinking. They use it for cooking. They use it for washing. They use it for bathing. They use it for cleaning the house and other things. I was saying that the way that we have advised this way is to create plasma environments for the patients, because we have understand by your explanation that if we create the field, our body can interact with this field. So the reason was to create the environment, plasma environment for our patients. So when we make it for CO2, our patients has used it by drinking, bathing, cooking, so doing everything with this. So the day we start with this, the patient is not drinking another water. The patient is not bathing with another water where we cannot get plasma liquid of CO2 and washing house everything. So when the patients start with these 2 second days, his urine start to become yellow and we can get some trace of blood inside. And we was advising our patients to continue. And when the patient is using it 1 week, 1 week and half, for those patients after urine change 4 days, they start. This is from the last report from Europa patients. But for African, we have we have seen that 1 week and 1 week and half, their health become decrease. So they feel very bad, tired, fever, and other things. But what we have constated with European patients, 4 days or 3 days, they start to feel tired, fever, and other things in their body. So I advise them to continue. I encourage them to continue. And when they continue with plasma liquid of CO2, end of the 2nd week, their health becomes established. And then we decide to mix zinc oxide, CO plus CO2 and CH3 plasma liquid for their drinking, bathing, washing, and doing everything with this. So when they start this process, they are reporting that they become more and more stronger and they are feeling more and more in life. So for Togolese patients, we have done with this husband and his wife, and the husband, according to the report, medical report that we get, she said is negative. He don't have no AIDS. And when we analyze the medical report for the his wife, according to the first one she done before we start the treatment, where she get more than 15 illness in her, no, on the report we get only 3 with this process. So this is what we have done, Mr. Kesh.
Thank you very much, Paul. So
Thank you.
I've noticed in one of the reports, if I'm lady from Europe had a different problem than AIDS, and she has reported change. Have you seen that?
Please, for the European report, patients,
Yeah.
yeah, she reported she get, I can read what she have sent to me yesterday, and I have transferred it to you.
Yeah. What does it say in that report? I haven't seen it.
I send it by mail.
Yes, I know. Can you read it to us without mentioning the name?
Okay, I will read it.
Because they give you vital information in these emails.
Okay.
You become our what do you call it, AIDS correspondents.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
So let's see. I hope in conference in Accra you
Okay.
have a large number of doctors present, that especially from the government side, that you can show enough documentation that they will carry on forward with this process for the trials.
Okay, thank you. So I can read.
I have to tell you something. I'll let you explain. It's fantastic what you're doing. Keshe Foundation, through its process, has developed a new way to handle AIDS and HIV. Very effective within 3 days. And the what do you call it? The scientists will explain the process. The way you've done that needs that process needs physicians, where the process you go, anybody can do at home. And what you're doing is fantastic. It's a pleasure to hear and to see.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. So I can read what she sent to me.
Yes.
He say, I feel more strong. I make today echography. I am okay. My pancreas have some little tumor with water at 34 millimeter. Doctor say is not dangerous, is not cancer. It's full of water. And I say, take aerosol and put CO2 liquid, plasma liquid inside and drink it. And he say, doctor say it's not possible to cure. I say, this is the patient say, I say it's possible. And I respond to her, in their world it is not possible, but now we are in the period of the new science with new power. So don't listen to them, just go to the process. And she respond to me, she say, I just smile and I say, be fine and we will see. And last year I have kidney stone, tropondisis or another things. Today they don't appear at ultrasound. So when she make son, kidney and all thing has gone. Everything else come out healthily. Liver, health, ulcers.
Hello, Paul. Could you say that last sentence again? We lost you there a bit. Maybe we could get that repeated.
This is his report and blood test for herpes. And she said, think, yeah. So this is
But let me explain. She reported having herpes. Am I correct?
For European patients. Please.
Am I correct? Did she report that she had herpes initially?
So when we see, yeah, this is the report yesterday she have got for his doctor. So yes, last year she got livers, beings, spleen, ovaries, kidney, head, and she make etc. etc. And when she make test yesterday at the ultrasound, all has gone. This is his report. And I make a capture of screen of our discussion and I send it to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
You're doing a wonderful job. I
Thank you.
It will carry on through Africa. Some of you might not know, but in Africa, some of the countries have made the radical decision to what they call no-hope camps. No-hope camps is where they literally put people with advanced HIV that they cannot what do you call it, contaminate the others. These no hope camps, sometimes several hundred people, couple of thousand people in some are kept because they don't want by isolation. They leave them in there, they feed them and they look after them as much as possible in African level, just to be there that they can contain the spread. And they literally die in these no home camps. One of our targets in development in Africa is to get access to one of these no hope camps and literally go through the process of, as we said, the new technology, maybe in conjunction with what Paul has achieved, that we can change a lot of people who've been sentenced literally to die in these no hope camps, to be able to go back to their society, back to their family. AIDS has played a massive game in disbalancing the economy of some nations of Africa. Maybe with this we can change position. This is why I follow the work of Paul very closely. I have worked in Africa for decades. I've seen the devastation AIDS has brought into certain villages and towns and families. In some cases we have seen grandparents bringing up children, their grandchildren, because both parents are lost, and not only one, they've lost 2 or 3 children and they're looking after all the grandchildren. And in cases children are not kept and literally put out of the village because they can't afford looking after them. It's a big, big game, and hopefully in the coming time, very, very short time, we'll see an end to this. Not because we have to understand it costs a lot. It costs literally nothing, as Paul said, to change a life. Very, very little. But the new technology which is developed and will be tested hopefully in the coming time is very effective, monitored by doctors, and we should see the results, if it's correct, within a matter of days. And as they cannot find any, what I call, elements of AIDS in the body of the man in such a rapid way, I think it will take time for African nations to digest its development. But it's one of the powerful ways you can prove it. And this is important for a lot of us. We have entered a new dimension in plasma technology, and we release it as people are getting ready for it to understand more of. The biggest problem will be pharmaceuticals, because they've invested billions out of pension funds which they have to pay back people to live, so they create opposition and FDA. So very soon, if you have AIDS in America or in Europe and you don't want to be in the tangle of dying because of somebody in there has paid a lot of money to get a license and they try to enforce it, go to Africa. It's your only life of survival. You can get processed, or you do it yourself the way Paul explains, and you walk out of it. The same situation is prevailing on cancer. The achievement in cancer research and other diseases is the breakthrough in plasma technology. We will see huge opposition by major corporations. But in fact, major corporations have no say when it comes to the life of a man who can help himself. We teach this on open channels in Africa because we have to. Europe doesn't suffer so much from AIDS than Africa does. And as you know, part of it was spread by clinical trial mistakes and errors, or desperation, or deliberately. It's no good blaming anybody, because blame doesn't solve the problem. As I said, we forget the past, we start anew. So we launch this new technology. Hopefully the people who are in Ghana will start the process, and in the coming time with a conference in Rome, we'll expand it we expect a huge opposition, the way we did with Ebola and E. coli in Sierra Leone to confiscate all the systems, but now people are doing it in the back doors and saving their lives. So those of you who are waiting for FDA to approve if you can use a CO2 process, walk to Africa, walk back home with no disease, and thank the motherland of where all our lives as a human race started. We go back to where we started, where we are safe, to find salvation. Anything more, Rick?
There's always more, Mr. Kesh. There's always more. There is a couple of things that maybe we could quickly run through here. How are we doing on time at your end?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
It's only 12 o'clock.
Okay. Let's see which would be best.